Ladies and gentlemen, the dips have been bought. The market is primed. We're ready for liftoff. BAKKT has been announced. Yes, has been announced. So, Market Watch, episode 7, episode 8, not sure, one of those two. Anyway, so where did we leave off last time in the epic saga of Bitcoin? I believe we were trading at around 10,600, something like that. And I was pretty convinced that we were going to go up, and then we went down, which was fine with me because I only had a partial position. I actually ended up buying a lot more between 9,800 and 10,000, so I'm really, really happy that we did have that dip. Remember, in a bull market, dips are for buying. So we are in that bull market, and I've got a much bigger position now, and I'm super happy. Obviously, this isn't something you can really predict. It's something that happens once in a blue moon, but in this case, it happened. I bought the dip, and we had the amazing fundamental news that BAKKT is cleared for launch. BAKKT is going to launch in September in about 3 to 4 short weeks. So very, very quickly, they are ready to go. And I really like the timing. It's a very short window for people to actually get their positions between the announcement of the launch and the actual launch itself, which to me means that there's going to be a lot of FOMO. Obviously, for BAKKT, it makes sense to do it like that because you don't want to have any forward-looking statements generally as a large company that a lot of shareholders and whatnot look towards. And in the case of BAKKT, obviously it's very important that they do that. So they have an announcement that's very close to the actual launch, which means everything is pretty much 100% confirmed. We are going to get this launch in September. We are going to get the ETF for Bitcoin. I just finished making a video actually a few days ago that discussed why we don't need an ETF. However, even though we don't need an ETF necessarily, an ETF certainly does help, especially one that's physically settled. So what is BAKKT? I will give a quick explanation. BAKKT basically is going to be a way for traditional legacy investors to invest in Bitcoin without having to actually buy the thing on Coinbase, without having to set up hardware wallets, without having to do all of that crypto side, all of that crypto tech learning and education. So it's going to be very, very easy for those institutional investors to purchase. Now, we already know that there's a lot of there's a lot of professional interest in buying crypto, as we can see from the Grayscale Investment Trust having ridiculous 200-300% premiums on their coins. Ethereum, Zcash. I'm not sure if they offer Bitcoin, but I know they do Ethereum and Zcash. So I think they do Ethereum Classic as well. So there's a lot of interest there, and those are just altcoins. Bitcoin is going to be a lot more interest. Again, we look at CME futures as another example. Had over 50% of the total volume across all of crypto, including BitMEX in 2018. So quite a lot of volume there, and that was all institutional investors buying the futures. Now, again, the difference here is with the ETF, it's physically settled. So if there's a lot of buy side, BAKKT has to back that up with actually purchasing of the Bitcoin themselves so that there is an underlying being traded there. Now, it's not as directly, I would say, as directly impactful as buying things on the market. However, it is a hell of a lot better than the futures that we had. Again, we look historically at the time when futures were released for things like gold and other commodities. Usually it meant the start of the tank when things started going down. Same thing happened with Bitcoin. We got the CME futures came out, Bitcoin went down. However, the key difference here, a lot of people are looking towards this BAKKT thing and saying, oh, well, that just means everyone's going to short it again. Here's the thing. The 2017 top was obviously a massive hype cycle. It was overblown. It was a blow off top. You look at it on the chart and it just looked ridiculous. So it was clearly going to go down there. At least we can say that in hindsight. Currently, there's no real irrational exuberance in the market. There's no one that's going crazy about it. There's no mainstream, even news really, that's talking much about Bitcoin. And because of that, that gives me a lot more confidence. We have hit almost $14,000 with no one actually talking at all about this asset, which is incredible if you think about it. Because last time when we were at 20,000, we had all of the news. Even taxi drivers and Uber drivers were telling you how great Bitcoin was and how much money it was making them. Not at all like this time. It's really not much talk at all, even amongst traders. There's so many people that got washed out in many cases that they just really don't have any kind of enthusiasm. And so I don't see another mainstream media cycle happening until we break that 20K. Until then, BAKKT is launching not in an irrational exuberance phase, but during a phase where the market is just now starting to ramp up. And so I applaud BAKKT for doing the timing of this. It's great timing. We can see that we've had a lot of interest here in the run-up, but that's only the run-up. It doesn't mean that this is the end of it. And I really am quite bullish on this thing. I think we are absolutely getting primed with this ETF coming out. Again, even though Bitcoin doesn't need it, it certainly helps. And so having the ETF be another element, another feature of Bitcoin. Hey, you can buy through the BAKKT now, and you don't have to worry about purchasing Bitcoin yourself, even though it's physically delivered once contracts expire. So you can buy your BAKKT, and this is going to open up so much more additional money, so much more additional liquidity, so many more new investors, wealthy 40-year-old, 50-year-old, so on, investors who have a lot of money and want to invest in this asset but don't want to learn about Bitcoin can do it now with BAKKT through this physically settled contract, which is amazing. The best fundamental news we've possibly had the entire year. Again, if you don't have a position right now, you only have about a month. I have absolutely no idea. Again, I can't tell the future. No one can tell the future. Anyone who tells you what they think is that they know something is going to happen with 100% certainty, obviously you need to be very careful of what they're saying. Either their bags are too heavy or they have some other motive. But I can say that I'm very confident that we are absolutely going to be heading into one of the best and greatest bull markets in the history of Bitcoin. So I'm super excited. Again, hard to say. We could always go to zero, right? There's always that possibility. But I'm putting my money and my reputation on the fact that we are going to go up. I'm very confident with BAKKT. So I would say I don't want to incite too much FOMO in you. If you're watching this video, don't go all in. Don't just do all of that, because even I'm not all in. I have a position in Bitcoin. It's a sensible size. Have a sensible position in Bitcoin. Think about it. What is sensible for me? Don't go all in. You never want to do that, because what happens if Bitcoin goes to 8,000? Oh, you just lost 20%. You're going to sell and then we go up. That happens. When you put in too much money, you get way too emotionally attached. So be careful about how much you put in. Me personally, I have a sensible amount in. I'm very confident in it, but even though I'm very confident in it, again, I have a sensible amount. This is a channel where we are not going to be FOMOing. We don't FOMO on this channel. So that is basically the biggest fundamental news, which is great. BAKKT. And I wanted to talk a little bit about altcoins here. Ethereum is extremely sad, but there is a ray of hope. There's a small ray of hope. If we look at the weekly here, we've had this last weekly now, which closed, which looks pretty decently with the price action. Generally, when you see this kind of thing, it usually means that there's a bottom. Obviously, the low here was somewhere around, let's see if I can get this. The low was 0.0175, and then the next week, the low was 0.0176. So that means it never actually swung below that low, which is great on a weekly basis. So that means we actually may have found a bottom there. If we look at the daily, you always get that. This is a price chart that a lot of TA traders will use. They'll do this Adam and Eve style where it's a V and then it's a rounded bottom, and then that basically is a nice portent for saying that we could be going up. I, as of now, do not have an Ethereum position, but I am generally I would be interested in it right now. I absolutely would be, and I may purchase some Ethereum this week, just depending on how we do. Again, I already have a Bitcoin position. I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin. So you really have to hope that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin. That's the only reason you really ever should buy an alt, if you think it's going to outperform Bitcoin in the short term or the medium or long term, whatever your time horizon is. I think in the short term, Ethereum has a good shot. I think Ethereum is going to be likely leading the market in terms of alts. I know a lot of people look at alt market cap on a chart and they'll say that this looks, a lot of people right now are saying that it looks very bearish, which generally means that Bitcoin dominance, as it goes down, that doesn't mean Bitcoin price goes down. That means alts are starting to gain leverage. They're starting to gain power and strength and price. So it's possibly something that could be happening. Personally, I don't really believe in the whole altcoin market cap, Bitcoin dominance thing, but I will mention that in this video just so you have the information. Again, I will always bring information from other technical traders that I know and tell you what they're saying so that you have more than just one opinion, more than just what I think. So the technical traders are generally bullish. Me, I'm a little bit, I am slightly bullish on Ethereum right now, but I am obviously very careful, very wary, because you look at this, it's almost like trying to time a bottom. It's just downtrend for weeks and months and just, yeah, almost like a year and a half. So it's difficult. It's difficult for you to say with absolute certainty that this really is the bottom. But if it's not the bottom, you definitely could get a nice little, like, this kind of action here, where we went all the way from 0.025 to 0.035. So maybe you can get a trade like that if you're a more short-term trader and you're looking for that kind of move. Could happen, could not. In my opinion, I think I may be interested in getting a small Ethereum position this week, but that remains to be seen. I'll let you know next week if I ended up buying one or not. But yeah, generally quite bullish on Bitcoin. Ethereum, slightly bullish, kind of curious. The weekly printed out well, the daily's looking good. And yeah, that's basically all we had for this week. That was, again, one of the best weeks that I think have probably happened in the history of Bitcoin. Just this whole ETF business. Really, really excited, really, really bullish. I think everyone is going to be looking at that. And funnily enough, a lot of people usually have this mind to short this kind of news. And if you shorted it, you got pretty much wrecked. I think this is probably one of the most bullish news you possibly could buy, in one of the easiest trades right now of the year is just buying this Bitcoin right now in preparation for the BAKKT launch. Now, what happens after the BAKKT launch, again, that's up to you personally if you think it's going to keep going. In my opinion, yes. Unless, obviously, we have some crazy, insane candle up to 100K in the next week. Not happening. But if it's certainly a good buy the rumor, sell the news kind of play, at least at this point. You can definitely buy right now, and you can have some level of certainty that we're probably going to be trading a little bit higher than where we're at here by the time BAKKT launches, just based on hype and speculation and all of that. Remember, this is a largely speculation-driven market. So the fact that a news piece comes out like BAKKT that is super speculative is it's a very good catalyst for Bitcoin and Bitcoin holders. So that was all I had this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will be traveling in the next week or two, and so I'm probably not going to be back until around the 7th of September. So I guess I'll be gone for about 3 weeks. I have some videos prepared. I have content ready for the channel. I will be releasing it. I'm just not going to be here to be able to answer questions and things like that. I'll be on my Twitter, though, so you can go ahead and message me there. But yeah, that's it. I'll be away. But once I get back, we'll be right back into the grind, making videos again. And I can't wait for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.